right. Hey, thank you, everyone. Special thanks to our investor panel and our startups. We currently have over 800 startups on our platform. We launched on November 30th, so it's the very early days, but we're super excited about what's in store. A quote I love is Peter Thiel once said, "What important truth do very few people agree with you on?" Choosing an idea that's not oversaturated is just as important as execution. And I just want to set some thoughts on the goal of the pitch deck. I misunderstood the goal of the pitch deck early in my career when I was pitching for capital. They don't convince people to invest. They convince people to allocate time to get a first meeting. And the entrepreneur journey is like a maze. Twists, turns caused by competition, new technology, customer feedback. You get sidetracked, you go down dead ends. Sometimes you feel like you're making great momentum, but it doesn't really increase your likelihood of success. And a lot of these competitions, conferences, accelerators, crowdfunding campaigns are really major distractions. At StartupOS, we help founders who have unique, insight into how market demand is being reshaped from founder market fit to product market fit. So you're going to see the inner workings of how companies are building traction and growth. Change may be driven by generational shifts like the ascension of Gen Z, cultural shifts, hybrid work models, environmental change like climate crisis. The founders and founding teams presenting today have a unique story to tell. Our 5 pitches today are all pre-seed and seed stage investment opportunities. The founders are filled with enthusiasm and belief that their crazy idea may have a significant chance of working. Currently, they all don't have complete teams or even complete plans, but understand the key technological risks of their approach, economic and market benefits, and if it's successful, then those have been identified. I would like to personally thank our investor panel and introduce them so we can get started with the pitches. First, Curtis Feeney from West Texas. I feel like I'm announcing an NBA lineup from West Texas.
Now starting.
Yeah. Point guard, number 23. I come from Chicago, so you can see the Michael Jordan roots. Longtime Silicon Valley resident, now resides in Park City, Utah. Love it out there. I'm a Truckee resident, love to ski. 20-year venture capitalist in tech, 10 years at Stanford Management, board of CBRE, board of Khan Academy. That's a revolutionary, game-changing piece. Harvard MBA, Texas A&M, BS Mechanical Engineering, Stanford Angel Group co-lead, and part of multiple SPACs. We have Stephen DeWitt from Cleveland, Ohio, longtime Silicon Valley veteran, 5-time early stage CEO, multiple fundraising and exits, SVP at Cisco, HP, Symantec, everywhere important out here, angel investor, Babson College, BS Economics. And in the 3-hole, which is always somewhere I aspired to hit in, never really got there. Seth Marlett, Silicon Valley resident, 5-time early stage executive, angel investor and board member, currently CEO and founder of Altair, data and analytics expert, engineering and business degree from Lafayette College. So thank you all again for joining. We're really excited today. The format is going to be 8-minute pitches, 8-minute Q&A, and then we'll move on to the next presenter. There are 5 presenters today. And in our leadoff spot, Evan from Envy. I love that. Evan from Envy. Evan's background is cognitive neuroscience, research and media entertainment, and her mission as a founder is to bring important issues into the mainstream conversation. Evan, welcome, and please kick us off.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Evan Santana, and I would like to introduce you to Envy. Can everyone see my screen all right?
Perfectly.
Awesome. So what is Envy? Envy is an enterprise SaaS tool to track, rate, and report sustainability performance. And we're specifically looking at the consumer goods sector. And I chose the consumer goods sector because household consumption has possibly the largest impact on the health of our planet. And what I realized was that more and more consumers were beginning to prioritize the environment. They wanted to purchase eco-conscious goods. They wanted to live more sustainably, but they didn't trust the corporate messaging from brands trying to sell them those products. In fact, over half of consumers don't believe that brands are fostering true progress. And yet 80% of consumers still expect those same brands to speak out about societal issues. So there's this disconnect here. Envy wants to solve this disconnect by being a credible pathway of communication between the brands and consumers. And we want to do this with 3 main steps: creating a mission, implementing a strategy, and communicating a success. Now, this all starts with the brands. Envy is providing an environment for brands to disclose data through our Envy SaaS tool. We're then working to supply those brands with insight into consumer preferences, trying to understand what's influencing consumer buying behavior. And then we are evaluating client data, really working to highlight areas for improvement, but also highlighting success. And then finally, working to communicate those successes to consumers via our Envy Marketplace app. Now, the Envy consumer-facing marketplace app will be a staggered release after the launch of our enterprise SaaS tool. So why now? Well, sustainability is a growing purchase driver. In fact, it's a top 5 purchase driver for 50% of consumers. And that percentage grows when you consider consumers who are generally willing to spend more for a sustainable good. It grows to 2/3. Now, breaking that down a little bit further, 32% of millennials and Gen Z are willing to pay twice as much for a sustainable alternative. And yet there's still this disconnect. 78% of consumers still don't know how to find those brands and those products that match their values. So how does it actually work? Again, it starts with the brands. So brands log into Envy's SaaS tool. They input their data, their information that's requested from them. That data is then evaluated according to Envy's algorithm, which we've developed. A performance report and a rating is then generated, and it's given back to that brand in the form of feedback. Brands then have the opportunity to publicize that report, that rating data on our Envy Marketplace app so that consumers can then use it to make buying decisions. Now, the screenshots that you're seeing on the left here are from an earlier version of our SaaS tool. The final MVP is projected to be completed in January. So our Envy algorithm, what does that actually mean? What data are we looking at? How are we evaluating it? So we're looking at 3 main types of data that we will be receiving from brands, and we are going to be evaluating that data along 5 different metrics. Now, carbon emissions is probably the metric that you're most familiar with. I think it gets talked about the most, but we wanted to make sure that our definition of sustainability was as comprehensive as possible, and that's why we're looking at these additional metrics. Our go-to-market strategies. So before I jump into that, I want to share a little bit about what we've done in the past and why we've chosen to pivot. So earlier this year, Envy was offering one-on-one consulting services to brands in the CPG space. Specifically, we spent 6 months working with 3 brands in the hair goods and hair accessories sector. We generated a little over $67K in revenue, which was really exciting for our first year in operations. But we realized very quickly that consulting is not scalable, it's not efficient, and it wasn't really getting at the problems that we wanted to solve. And that's why we chose to pivot to the SaaS tool. So as far as our go-to-market strategy, we're going to be first targeting the cosmetic and skincare sector. There are a couple of reasons why we want to start with this sector, but we do plan to branch out into other consumer goods markets within 3 years. So those markets would be household cleaning, kitchenware, and clothing, for example. And the brand that you're seeing here on the bottom right corner, Lamique Beauty, is going to be our first user tester once we've completed our MVP. So we're really excited about that. Now, to give you a better sense of what the cosmetic industry actually looks like, in the US, the skincare industry is comprised of approximately 115,000 brands, generating $31.6 billion in revenue. That's in 2022. Now, with some data from Deloitte, we're able to see about how much this industry is spending annually on marketing and R&D. And that's led us to target brands in this sector that are generating a minimum of $1 million in revenue per year. Now, to give you a sense of the SAM, our target price at launch is $3,500 per brand per year. So the potential revenue here with 115,000 brands is a little over $400 million. And that's just with our target price at launch and just in the skincare industry. So a bit more about our business model. Again, we're embracing this annual subscription service. Again, our target price at launch is $3,500 per brand, but we do want to have some add-on services that we can provide for an additional fee. For example, access to our consumer market research or access to an additional supplier tracking feature that we're working on. Our marketplace, as I mentioned before, it's important to us for a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons is because it gives this opportunity for a growth model. We see that having more users, more consumers using the app will attract more brands who want to use Envy's SaaS tool, who want to be featured on the app so they can be exposed to those consumers. Our projected growth KPIs. So of course, revenue is incredibly important to us, but some other metrics we'll be looking at are number of brands, annual fee, and how they change over time. So for example, in year 4, our target is to have 13,000 brands using the tool with an average annual fee of $8,000. Now this is year 4, so ideally we've branched out into other CPG sectors, and we've got some additional product offerings as well. Competition. So Envy has not identified any other enterprise SaaS tool that also has a consumer-facing component. So Goodbuy and Golden here, those are strictly consumer marketplaces. They generate revenue from commission off of product sales. You might be familiar with Green Seal or Certified B Corp. Neither of those are SaaS tools. Sustain Life here is a SaaS tool, but it does not have a consumer-facing component. As far as our team, that consists of myself. We have a few researchers. Our technical team is 2 engineers and 2 designers. We are working to finalize a contract right now to bring on an advisor in exchange for equity, and we are looking for some additional advisors as well. So we're getting to the end of the presentation here. This is just an executive summary to give an overview on who we are, our objectives, and some of the problems we're looking to solve, but I really want to make sure I end on our ask. So Envy is seeking an investment of $150K to build out our team, mostly engineering and operations hiring. We want to release a larger scale B2B marketing campaign, really test out our MVP, see what's working. We want to work on some new product features as well so that we can do our beta release at a higher price point. And we believe that will get us to our pre-seed raise. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you guys so much for your time and for giving me a chance to share Envy with you.
Awesome. Evan, fantastic presentation. A 2x price increase for brand trust. CPG companies should love that. Panelists, do you have any questions for Evan?
That was excellent. Well done. Congratulations on what you're building. You know, combine a company with a purpose and tight execution and first mover advantage. Very compelling. So good for you. The data that you referenced that ultimately creates the scorecard, which ultimately fuels your algorithm. Do companies right now already provide that data? Are they required? If I'm Estee Lauder, do I have to give that information, or is there a hurdle to getting it?
Is this the data that you're speaking about?
Yeah.
So generally, this data is very easy for brands to provide. When we say input material data, we're really talking about essentially what would be in an invoice. So what are you purchasing from your suppliers? What are your product ingredients? For transport data, that's also likely equally accessible. Think about when you ask FedEx to ship your products, FedEx is able to have estimates on how many vehicles they're using. Probably your price is directly based on what percentage of the freight, your products are making up. And utility data, that's what you would get from your utility company, your utility bill that you would pay to your manufacturer or whoever the facility is for electricity, and so on and so forth. So generally the data is accessible.
Okay, thank you. That answers that question. Does that then, and I think 2 things hit me really quick, just super fast. One, Gwyneth Paltrow, and I'll get to that in a minute. And second, if I'm aggregating all of the data, I'm ultimately creating your badging system. So your algorithm you're looking to make as a de facto standard. And that's good because I don't think one exists right now. I can't think of any kind of good housekeeping seal there is. I know there is in like buildings you go into and you can see this building is, certified compliant, but I don't know of it. So I can see that space that you're moving into. But anyway, I'll stop there and let other people ask questions.
Yeah, Evan, I think
I'll go. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, just a couple of comments for you because I think we have compressed time here. First of all, I'm an anagram guy, so Evan to Envy, I get it. That was good. So y'all, I'm always curious how people come up with names. I'm going to assume that one. The other point is, this is a big assumption that in fact sustainability is truly a monetizable driver that you can capitalize on in consumer behavior. So I think you're going to be in an iterative experimental mode here and keeping your costs low and quickly getting product to a beta so you can test it and see what your ROI is for your consumers. When they see that they share this app with their consumers, and then you get into the whole issue of consumer behavior change, go-to-market strategy, and so on. So I think, I like the kind of capital you're raising, and curious, what I would say is, in a consumer-facing play like this, a small amount of capital, quickly getting a beta product out, testing it, proving your thesis, showing that you don't have big consumer adoption issues, go-to-market issues, testing go-to-market. Those are the kind of things I want to hear about. And then lastly, this is going to be, as a seed angel deal, this is a bet on you. So a little bit more on why you're going to be able to do this with your background, I think is going to be important when you start raising money. So those are just comments, and you can respond to any of that if you like.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments. Yes, as far as the first one, as far as testing, of course, our objective is to get the MVP done. We're working on getting some LOIs this month. That's going to be our priority, so that we can really see, what kind of traction we can generate. And as far as interest in sustainability, it's definitely increased over the last couple of years. I think it's going to continue increasing just with the pressure our country, even nationally, or globally, we're under to address sort of climate change issues. But you're right, we definitely need some metrics, and I'll be looking out for that. As far as my background, I think in my introduction, I mentioned that I was a cognitive neuroscience major in undergrad. I spent several years working in research. I then pivoted to the entertainment industry, really wanted to be a champion for diversity and inclusion in that sector. But then during the pandemic, realized I had this other passion. Truly, I am just logistics oriented. I love to break glass ceilings. I'm the kind of person who will walk into a store and see if I can get a deal. I love a coupon. I'm just kind of scrappy in general. I want to make this happen. I believe I can. I know I can. And I am trying and spending a good amount of time building out the team. I do want a great team, and I don't want to rush that. I want to make sure that whoever we add is the right person and can help make this vision come to fruition.
Wonderful. Evan, I'm going to stop the questions now in the spirit of time. But Evan, from Envy, I do love the name. The wonderful presentation, great questions. I'm so glad the founder reason came up, because I asked Evan that yesterday, and her passion just came through, and it was really the grit you're looking for in a startup founder. All right, thank you, Evan. Now I'd like to introduce Dinesh Jaffer, founder of CypherTech. Devesh was a former software engineer and is now working to create an open, connected, and inclusive future for all Cypher chat and safe space. Dinesh, take it away.
Hello, everyone. This is Danish. Thank you, Paul, for the introduction. So Paul already covered this. I'm an ex-engineer turned founder, worked at Cisco and various other organizations as an intern and full-time. So that's what my background is. And there are two products that CypherTech is focusing on. And there are two primary problems that we are focusing on. So first one is lack of secure and private communication. So a little bit backstory about it. I came up on this idea when it was time during Facebook privacy violations were happening, and it was gaining an awareness on the importance of privacy. And around the same time, a journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, was assassinated in Turkey. So it was at that time I realized that there is a need for private and secure communication, which does not rely on users' personal information. So I came up with this idea at that time, and employee reluctance to report issues is, while I was working at Cisco, I found out that there is a huge gap between what leadership thinks employee sentiments are versus what employees are going through at work. Many employees choose not to report the issues they are going through, and some of the platforms which came into play, which helped me find the data, is that Blind, you can see that gained a lot of popularity in past few years. So that's where I realized that there has to be some way where employees can safely share the challenges they are going through at work, while also being able to seek coaching and counseling all anonymously. So that's wherein I realized that CipherChat can be leveraged into safe space as well, where employees can anonymously over chat report issues as well as seek counseling and coaching. So I'll start with CipherChat. The data shows that CipherChat can be very useful because currently there are many platforms which have encryption, but some of those do not enable it by default, leaving the knowledge on the user's awareness that to turn it on. And in addition, there is also a lot of places in the world where communication apps are restricted. So there is a lot of censorship as well. So this is some supporting data which backs creation of CipherChat. And now I'll go how CipherChat differs from other solutions. So in CipherChat, you can download the app or go on a website, CipherChat web app. You can just provide a username and a chat room name and choose the level of privacy for your chat room. And you can create a chat room. The different level of privacy is that, just to give you an upshot of it, high privacy does not store any data of the messaging. So you can send a message to only online users at that particular point. And if you refresh the page or have a time deletion of the message, expiry of message, the message will disappear. So that is another feature of a chat room you can have. And all chat rooms will be end-to-end encrypted with peer-to-peer file sharing and calling. So that is CipherChat. And some of the marketing or market overview of CipherChat. There is huge number of messages being exchanged on daily basis, as messaging apps are very popular. Unfortunately, there has been many accounts which have been breached, and many of them are being sold on dark web. And one of the custom use case of CipherChat is also to be able to have people seek online therapy, which I am really passionate about for mental health. So that is also there, a market for that. And a competitor analysis of CipherChat. So CipherChat clearly stands out in its ability to sign up without personal information, send messages without storing on the server, and peer-to-peer calling, as well as file sharing, and as well as there is screen sharing available, which is not available right now in any other platforms. So that concludes CipherChat. Now I'll jump to Safe Space. So the data shows that many employees face harassment and discrimination at work. Many of the minorities face. If they report issues, they face retaliation. And if the issue goes to EEOC, the organizations have to pay huge penalty as well as their reputation gets damaged. So the upshot is that neither organizations are winning, neither employees are winning in the long run. So it is better to proactively resolve those. So Safe Space solution is combination of ability to report issues as well as complemented with coaching and counseling anonymously over chat, so employees can effectively tackle those challenges at work. So that is Safe Space. I'll deep dive into here. So Safe Space, there will be a QR code which will be embedded in the organization's intranet. Employee can scan that QR code on a non-work device, get connected to the HR case manager. HR case manager will relay that information to the organization. There is an additional option for organization to have HR case manager as to moderate the investigation to ensure that there is neutral outlook on the resolution, and all evidences are equally weighted and considered while coming to the resolution, and then they can write a report on how the resolution came into being. Unfortunately, many organizations, the data shows that many organizations have policies, but it is not really doing what it's supposed to do. So there is a lot of employees who are facing challenges at work, and businesses are losing revenue, as well as a lot of talent is being lost as well. So Safe Space stands out by being its ability to have a third-party case manager, and as well as counseling and coaching, as well as aggregated score from various social platforms on what the organization sentiment is, whether it is in company or outside the company. because these days people check on the social media or what the people think about an organization prior to joining. So this is also going to help the organization leadership. And this is the team for Sapphire. It's myself right now, and I have two advisors. One is HR consultant with 12 years of experience, and another is the leadership coach, works in public sector as well as private sector, who is helping me guide through and also introducing me to some prospects for partnership as well as customers. I'm asking for 1.5 million to be able to hire software engineers to help me complete the safe space workflow and also UI, UX to be able to successfully be able to complete that and also be able to file a provisional, non-provisional patent. I already have provisional patent. So those are some of the resources I need to be able to successfully take it forward, this concept and product. Thank you.
Great, Dinesh. I'll lead off with a couple thoughts. First, I think, congratulations, getting this far is, a really big accomplishment. And, having, I think, not just one idea, but two really manifest is, that's a lot of work. So, good on you thus far. I think that, a couple thoughts. One, do you have any other co-founders that have been on this journey with you, or has it just been kind of a solo project?
It is just solo. While in the middle of it, right, I was thinking about having co-founder. I consulted few people. They all said, if you have been this far by yourself, just go for it.
Yeah, I think, it needs to be a balancing act, right? But, one of the things that I found, through my various journeys has been, having, a variety of confidants around you that, end up being really, really not just trusted advisors, because advisors are very good, but people who are in the trenches with you. It really helps to, to balance just kind of the thinking and, various things, because you're moving so fast and you need to, kind of make decisions in a very rapid way. So something to consider as you go forward. I think in general, the secondary idea that, you're talking about seems to, based on my experience, it solves a real problem, and it is not, again, from, working with some of the largest companies in the world, like it's unfortunately not a saturated market that has been solved. So, I think that there's a lot of merit in the ideation that you have there, and, kind of bringing the security of, the chat concept that you have to the table, is something that I know that, many employers and employees seek. And, in terms of, just being able to garner a lot of interest, that there's a distinctive angle with that security, right? That I think it stretches beyond, what many of the solutions are that are in place today.
Yes.
Just a couple quick points. Echo everything. Good to have, if you think I use a baseball metaphor, it's good to have a founding team where someone's playing first, somebody's playing second, somebody's playing short. There's a lot of things in what you're talking about that you have to be good at. So sharing the ride's a great idea. The point on the second use case, I can't imagine any publicly held company wouldn't want to have the ability to say to their employee base, we have a, totally, anonymous pipe that isn't constrained by any systems, and here's how it is, and we stand for this, and it's a policy. So I would package that up really well. Yeah. And, in terms of guiding these critical months for you right here, I mean, think about it. Take Workday's top 10 customers, or you don't have to look far out in the battlefield and go, who are the 10 customers that if I went in and sold them, hey, for $10,000, you've got this value prop. And now all of a sudden you've got, you've landed your first lighthouse customers in a place that's highly visible. So you've got a provisional patent. I don't know what went away there. Everybody went away.
Good though.
I would get that patent done quickly. I think the ask may be a little high right now to get, you may want to go with something a little smaller and get little more proof of concept out there.
Got it.
And if I've got time, I'll just add on that I think your go-to-market is critical here. I've done a lot of enterprise software investing, and it's very difficult to close enterprise deals, even when they should do it. And particularly if it's a solution they haven't seen before, there's a lot of education involved, showing them. What I like about the Cypher chat proposal is you can try it out there as a freemium and see what traction you get with some guerrilla marketing. Much more difficult in enterprise to get that same sort of free testing. So I think figuring out how to go to market on the enterprise side is absolutely critical. I highly recommend you check out Crossing Your Chasm by Jeffrey Moore in the updated version. It'll give you some good food for thought. But and also maybe I like what Seth said, two, Safe Place plus Cypher Chat, but doing two products at once is more than twice as hard. It's probably 4 times as hard. So you might find if the engine is the same for both, that could be good, because then you could test them both, and testing around is always good. But just keep that in mind. And I like Steve's point about keep your costs down, test it first, build a minimum viable product, and see what you find, and then raise more.
Got it. Actually, just want to clarify. I have a detailed slide deck which answers a lot of your questions. So Safe Space is our go-to-market strategy as a first to get the foot in the door, while have Cypher Chat because users might be able to use it without Safe Space and gain additional confidence that there is a messaging app by this company which is clearly anonymous. So that is why it is there. So Safe Space is the go-to-market strategy. I also have planned how to gain customers by partnering with consultants, HR consultants, and DEI champions, so that they can suggest their executive leaders that they can use a platform like Safe Space to really bring DEI into the organization. So right now the challenge is basically initial investment to be able to hire. As a single person, I cannot do all the coding and then also focus on the growth. So that is what I need help with. Thank you.
Great insight. Hopefully you can take and use some of that. Wonderful group panelists. Dinesh, thanks for your presentation. I love when I hear founders say they found a gap, and you're the doer. You're the guy that can actually do the work. It gets you so far with your startup without a lot of expenses. It's wonderful. Just by background, I founded a CPaaS company called Candy. I think your use case is better than any use case we ever uncovered in years. So wonderful job finding a use case and a market need. So great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, Paul from New Music Lives. For singer-songwriters, the music business, as usual, isn't working. It's time for a change. Here's the man who's going to do it. Paul, tell us about New Music Lives. You ready?
Yes, sorry, I was a little bit late to the screen share there. I apologize. My name's Paul Saunders. I'm the founder of New Music Lives. I've been in the music business for the greater part of the last 40 years. My passion has worked for a major label. I've owned my own label. I've been a tour manager, an artist manager. I've even been a roadie for the mighty Emerson, Lake and Palmer back in the day, the supergroup. I had a radio career starting on a pirate radio ship. And then I worked for the BBC in England. I came to the US 21 years ago and worked at KQMT, Denver's top classic rock station, before being syndicated from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. So I've done it mostly all before, but more than enough, I've realized that, as Prince said, slavery is alive and well in the new music industry. And I'm happy to let big music continue their shameful, self-serving, pay the artist last and least way of doing business, because it perfectly proves that the 5 million singer-songwriters there are out in the English-speaking world deserve New Music Lives as a better way to create their music careers. New Music Lives is focused on providing singer-songwriters with proven strategies, systems and support, innovative tools and techniques for them to connect, engage, and enroll their listeners to become fans, and for those fans to become sustaining and supporting super fans. My unshakable philosophy is really, without doubt, does it serve the singer-songwriter and their fans? That's the real business of the music business. So as John Lennon and Paul McCartney said in 1968, you say you want a revolution? Well, we all know we'd love to change the world. Let's do it together. New Music Lives believes that for singer-songwriters, the music business isn't working. It's time to change that. It's past time to change that. New Music Lives brings about that change. Our mission is to transform the music business so that it works for singer-songwriters for the first time ever. There are 5 million English-speaking singer-songwriters. That number is a little bit hard to define as they're all independent, and our target is to reach 2 million of that market, around 100,000 solo music artists.
Hey,
We
Paul?
get the singer-songwriters' music heard. We help
Can you hear
listeners
me?
become fans, and fans become super fans who contribute recurring monthly revenue to the artist. Singer-songwriters are independent music artists. They love to write, they love to play and perform. Most of them are not business-minded, and they don't really want to be. So New Music Lives provides the medium, the method, and the means for them to create their successful career. Our Tip4 system allows the live audience to digitally tip the artist during the show. Our QR code-driven app is linked to our back-end technology, and we then work to convert the audience into a fan and the fan into a super fan. So New Music Lives only makes money after the artist makes money. Yes, shocking, I know. We get paid last. Our secret sauce, our New Music Lives Tip4 system for artists generating revenue and securing fan engagement at every show, no matter how big the crowd. Our custom QR codes can be printed onto posters, coasters, business cards, and stickers, and more. So the artist plays and performs, we take care of the rest. So why does a fan become a super fan? A super fan is a true fan, one that supports the artist with a passion. A super fan is the one that if the artist...
You guys remember the Gong Show? This feels like someone just pulled him off stage.
No, I want to party with this guy, though. I got to tell you immediately.
I've spent a few days with him. You wait till you really get to know him.
Oh, I love him.
Emerson,
Great
Lake, and
stories.
Palmer. Emerson, Lake and Palmer were awesome.
Right?
Hey,
Yeah.
let's do it.
It's a right market too.
Okay, let's try this.
So you're
again.
just going to have to continue from where you left off. We can't start again, but we were trying
No,
to get
but
your
we're
attention.
loving it, by the way. My nephew is a singer-songwriter, so, you know, you had me at hello.
Okay, I'll pick it up. So why does a fan become a super fan? Put simply, they're the true fans. They're the ones that artists care about. They're the ones that if the artist says how high, the fans will, if the artist says jump, the fan will say how high. For a super fan subscription of $10 a month, they get a personal relationship with the singer-songwriter. They get preferred seating and backstage passes to performances, the super fan letter for updates, invitations to live online song circles where they can be part of the process and involved in new releases, reward coupons from the artist merchandise store, a personal thank you from the artist, a gift subscription to our TV channel, newmusiclives.tv, and a chance to host house concerts. And that's something we passionately believe in terms of why the future of independent artists depends on the fan relationship. Our competitive analysis is that there are really limited competition with limited services and technology. Most services require the artist to pay up front. Patreon, with its 250,000 creators, is the most similar service, but it lacks the focus we have on the singer-songwriter sector. With New Music Lives, the artist is always paid first. The total market, as I've mentioned, is around 5 million singer-songwriters. Our goal is to reach 100,000 of them, or 2% of the total market. We expect only 10% of the artist's fan base to ever become super fans. So on the fan side, 90% of the artist's fans will not become subscribers. We'll work with the artist to help them grow to 1,000 super fans and beyond. So Tip4 is our completely free singer-songwriter methodology for them to be able to take digital tips at a show. We then work behind that to convert those tippers into fans and those fans to super fans. Our website is promoted through multiple social media strategies, and our TV channel, newmusiclives.tv, is on all of the major TV channels, Roku, Apple, Fire TV, all of those sources to promote those artists to new potential fans worldwide. Our financials, this one's a difficult one for us, but our target is 2% of the market, 100,000 singer-songwriters with 10% of the artist's fan base becoming super fans. But I'll break it down a little smaller. 1,000 singer-songwriters with 1,000 super fans. Each is 1 million super fans, or a gross monthly revenue of around $10 million. We give 70% of that to the singer-songwriter and retain 30%. And this excludes any additional profit centers we'll bring in: events, online radio, digital TV, in-store music licensing, distribution, and merchandising. We want to work through it all. Do we have a team together that can do this? Yes. I come from a long-standing music marketing background. I've been in the industry 40 years. My web developer is experienced. My John Milton Fogg is a million-selling author who has already disrupted the direct sales industry by selling 2 million copies of a book called The Greatest Networker in the World. George Shue comes from a background at BMI, the biggest licensing authority for music. And Sandy is a performer, an artist, and passionate administrator, because I need someone to dot my I's and cross my T's. Kalyan Dial takes care of our systems development, so we believe we have a fairly rounded structure. The ask is that New Music Lives is seeking $2 million in initial investment. The key uses of these funds to finish and complete our MVP, and then build out our scalable infrastructure and cloud operation. Of course, marketing and, more importantly, member and artist support will be the biggest and most important part of this, because, as I say, we're passionately about artists first. We have to bring some other key hires, CTO, CFO, and so on, into the process. Where does this leave us in terms of exit strategy? I believe we will be likely purchased by a much larger company in the music space, or will seek to exit as an IPO. Both options, of course, will be based on a valuation calculated by the number of singer-songwriters and superfans we have. For singer-songwriters, the music isn't working. It's time for change. It's past time. Let's change it together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. Your passion and knowledge is catches on with all of us, and it comes through glowing. And being a roadie must have meant that Paul has a great attitude and is a pleasant to be around, because they don't keep those guys around if they're not. And I have to say, firsthand experience working with Paul over the last several weeks has been wonderful. So panelists, any questions for New Music Lives and Paul?
Yeah, Paul, that was great. I think your domain expertise just shines through, and that's a huge advantage. Then when you go into the let's call it software application space, as you're doing, and I've actually done some investing in the music business around this sort of artist dislocation that you're trying to solve. I think it's a great idea, and it's going to be a lot harder. Probably you're so close to the industry, you know how it goes, but I think getting the adoption is going to be a real challenge, and getting the word out and getting above the noise that's out there for this space. But I really like the team you've put together and your background and passion around it. And there's a lot of artists that are going to say, yeah, I have good talent, I have good content. How do I monetize it? Or I'm being told this is the deal, and that sucks, right? So you're solving a real problem. I think the biggest challenge, you got to build the product has got to be great, and that's almost table stakes in any of these deals. Then the market adoption is probably the biggest thing to think about. And there's a lot of people out there you can also bring into your group to help you think through that. But good job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great. You got to imagine in the future world, there's no friction between an artist in any form, artist, a singer, whatever, and their constituents. It's just a QR code, and we're going to facilitate whatever relationship, and monetization wheels will come from that. So home run, it's going to be the future. There's no question about it.
Thank you.
Exactly as Curtis said, this is especially in an untapped area like this is a big stakes game. If Bruce Springsteen came out and said, oh my God, you want to have direct relationship with me and have a blockchain relationship that's going to allow me to give you my first songs and be able to do click here, you're going to get 1 million people in 2 seconds. And so the cost of building the momentum here is a real deal. And I think you're right. Ultimately, everybody is going to play in that kind of breakdown of those walls. So you're in the right space. It's artist adoption, it's first mover advantage. It's it's a play.
Yep.
Yeah, I think just piling on that, actually one of my portfolio companies is in the generative AI music creation space. And so it's very top of mind. It's hard. it's hard. You got to think about differentiation in a big way, and think, about bringing the artist to the people, right? Versus the people to the artist. And, there are a lot of interesting metaverse kind of opportunities, that could bridge, the gap there. The fundamentals of the idea, spot on. I don't think anybody would say anything different. But just really think about that, that differentiation, because there's United Masters, there's all of these different, types of organizations that are, trying to make everybody, who's a singer songwriter a big deal, a la TikTok. And there's just a lot of noise in the market, and you got to really think about that differentiation.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. My primary focus is, because we go after the much smaller artists, largely the industry is ignoring them, or it perceives them as chum to a certain extent. I wrote an article about 20 years ago that said, so now you're in the ocean, be careful, it's full of sharks. The industry mistreats the younger artists, and that way they can strengthen themselves by the relationship with their fans.
They'll be early adopters because they're going to want that and expect that. And you're going to leverage that in your branding, et cetera, but it ends up ultimately becoming a numbers game too, and that's where the scale comes in.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's why I know we don't have to reach a very large portion of the market to be a noise and to be a step into it. And any artist that receives money from us going to tell other artists that they know anyway. So, because that's the way the world spreads.
Yeah, I wouldn't, throw it. I know it's a hairball thing, but if you've got the relationships and the wherewithal, bring a big name in with you. Bring a brand in who has a vested interest in being a mouthpiece for this.
Yes, we're actually doing that. We're talking to Gail right now, who has 268 million TikTok viewers.
Find leverage points.
Wonderful advice where I was going to go. The great news with great domain expertise, Paul, is you have a super deep network, which most people don't have when they're just starting out. So tapping into that to get one or two artists on and create that momentum is kind of where the flywheel starts. But awesome. Great work. Love the pitch. Love the energy. And thank you so much.
Thanks, you. Right. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Next up, we have Mike from committees. Just a quick side note. I was so impressed with Mike yesterday. We had a little bit of trouble connecting with some internet issues, and he's busy. And I found out he did his first stage of his doctorate yesterday for 2 hours. So not only is he doing his doctorate, he's starting a company at the exact same time. So if you want to see an entrepreneur with grit, you found him. Mike, take it away.
And Mike, do you have like 3 kids too? And
I actually do have 3 kids.
There you go.
I have a 15-year-old and 20 11-year-olds.
There you go.
Good guess. Hey, so thank you all so very much for allowing me to pitch today. I'm pitching committees. Let me tell you something. Yes, I did defend my proposal yesterday, but before that, I want you to know I almost quit. I maybe almost quit about 50 times. And it wasn't about the writing. It wasn't about the research. It was about the committee, the management of my committee. I have 4 committee members. I have different feedbacks. I have all these different things to manage their schedules. And that is probably one of the most stressful things for a doctoral student or thesis student. So I'm really glad to introduce you to committees. It won't help me, but it'll help somebody else. So one of the issues that we have here, well, the problem is committee members are busy, super busy. They all have consulting things. They're teaching. They are doing other service projects. A lowly old doctoral student only gets a little bit at a time. So we can't get on their calendars. Feedback from 4 different people at 4 different times. I need to manage all of that. And also finding the right chairperson. I only get to meet a few of the professors. So how can I choose a professor that's going to help guide me through this process is one of the hardest things you could do in an academic career. The solution is, the solutions are, how about we automatically show space on our professors' calendars without asking them to say what's available so that I can reach out, especially for professors to get a 2-hour block for defense. It's almost impossible. It took me weeks to do that. custom timeline with milestones. I don't know if I'm progressing like I'm supposed to so that I can graduate. I just happened to do my defense yesterday, but my proposal defense yesterday, but is that in line? And is that enough time for me to write the rest of the dissertation forward? We can have templates for that. And then managing feedback items. What if we can overlay all of the feedback items over your document so that you can see where people are commenting and you can check them off at the same time? In Microsoft Word right now or Google Docs, you can only see one comment at a time per document. So you got to open up multiple documents. So how did it begin? First of all, me and my cohort member, my co-founder, we were sitting in class one day and said, it's got to be an easier way to manage this process. Ding. Well, why can't we do it all together? Because all of the doctoral students, all thesis and doctoral students have to do this ad hoc. They have to find their own different ways to get professors together, mainly through email. And you all know how many emails you get, and try to sort through different versions and so forth. So we joined the Launchpeer Accelerator, and that helped us with customer discovery, helped us form the idea into a clickable prototype. We're now in the funding phase in that program, but we're actually starting to build, we're actually starting to show the product a little bit more. We have this clickable prototype. We want an NC Idea grant. It's $10,000 to help us with customer discovery and move towards an MVP. Now we're going into funding, and I'm here in front of you today. Again, it's really nice to see you all. Good to be here. And so hopefully in April, we're looking at, we're using this funding that we're trying to raise now to develop an MVP for the B2C side. That's for the students. We'll talk about the B2C and B2B in just a little bit. So why is the time right now? Every student has to piece together a process to manage their committees on their own. They don't tell you this when you're signing up for a doctoral thesis program, that at the very end, you're going to have to manage 4 adults and their schedules and how they communicate with you. They don't tell you that. What they tell you is, hey, sign here and you'll be okay. Well, now's the time to do that. More than ever before, graduate students have less time to write, much less to manage their committees. If you can imagine, yes, I have 3 kids. I'm a doctoral student. I'm an executive. I'm a director of customer success, which is an executive position at a small startup. I just finished being an elected official. I was on the school board here in Durham for 8 years. So I have a lot of stuff going on, but you know what? I still have time to find a solution here, but I have even less time to try to manage 4 grown adults on how they engage with me. And then professors. This is really the B2B side. Professors have so much going on. Like I said, they have consulting, they have teaching, they have service, and now they have committees. And you can have up to 3, you could be a chair on 3 committees, but you can have multiple other committees where you're just a committee member. You have a lot going on. So why not have one place to do it? Target market here right now, initially, is going to be US graduate students. Obviously there's graduate schools and programs all around the world, but I think for the very initial part, we're going to do US graduate students. And then the B2B side is going to be universities. What if we can sell a larger solution to universities that offer to all their graduate students on a per seat basis? There's a lot of things happening there. Deans want to know how their graduate students are progressing in their capstones. They want to know who's on track, who's defended their proposals, who signed off on the IRBs, all of these sorts of things. Well, we want to be able to provide that functionality to universities there. And just a really quick note before I move on, if a student signs up on their own, the B2C product, and their university purchases it, we're going to have a mechanism to they can convert it over to the university system, so they won't be charged on a monthly basis anymore. So what is our market size? If you put together all of the universities globally, all the graduate students, all of the professors, everything like that, at our mid-level average price that we would have is going to be about $1.3 billion. If about 24.1% of that whole bucket is in the United States, so that's about $321 million. The initial target that we're going to be going to is the capstone program is about 2 years. So we're really targeting the first year of that when you start it up, because people are like myself, I'm already past that point. So I want to target those people. Obviously, over time is going to be 2 years of people using it regularly, because one thing in education, we continue to replenish our students. We continue to replenish that customer base. There are no direct competitors to what we're doing here. However, there's some other tools that we as graduate students, we have to put together to do different things. Google Suite, Calendly, Microsoft 365, and there's a tool called huddle.com, which is kind of more of a business kind of thing with customers. There's a collaboration, but that's the sort of customer that we have. Now, our competitive advantage, obviously we don't have competitors, but what we can do differently from those individual services is one app for everything. We can secure and direct communication through one place that universities are really, really serious about. AI-driven calendar system. Obviously, Calendly is kind of like that, but the thing is, you have to go to their page, you have to go to their individual page and see what's available. Whereas an AI-driven system, we can kind of get it together, see what's available for a longer period of time. What are they doing? Use that kind of information that we get on the back end and train the AI system to be able to select the times that we can meet together. And then easy select the right chairman, committee or chairperson. We want to do it like a dating thing. What is your preferences? How do you work? What is your topic? Those sorts of things. Get that information from the university side about the professors who are available to chair, and let's match 3 or 4 people that you can actually target and say, they're going to work best for me based on feedback from previous students, what they've done in their CV and so forth. Our business model, like I kind of alluded to earlier, is an individual, monthly and yearly, right? A monthly or yearly, you can sign up individually, put in your chairperson's email address, your committee person's email address, they sign in and you can start to communicate that way. Complete capstone where the individual can say, look, my capstone is going to take about 2 years. I want to buy a package that lasts for 2 years. And then the university is obviously going to be an annual ACV based product. So the university will have a contract, and we're expecting about 10 years, if you will, that we would be able to integrate with a university on a platform fee for the administration, but it's per seat for the students, so that it'll be one price there. Meet the team. Myself, I've been in the industry about 25 years. About 17 of those years I've been SaaS directly, starting even before the iPhone, where we were developing software where you get on the flip phones where you can look at the weather and the sports and stuff like that. It's not like it is now, but that was really advanced back then. I am the head of customer success at Public Input. It's a tool I've been in SaaS for a little while. I started out as a Java developer, done project program management, got my MBA from UMass, and now I'm a doctoral student, a Doctor of Business Administration at UNC Charlotte. My partner, my co-founder, her name is Denise Wynn. She works at Duke. She's over the grants program there. She manages about $2.6 billion in grants that happen at Duke University. And with her, she's going to be more of the university relationships manager for us going forward. Now, my request is about $180,000. It's a little bit low, but what we're really targeting right now is getting to the MVP stage for the B2B system and using this to help develop the clickable prototype and the MVP for the B2B as well. We kind of have some groundwork going with the AI calendaring tool, but it's going to be AI for the calendaring tool and for the student and professor or chair match system as well. Like I said, with the B2C up at the top, we already have a clickable prototype and we're already demoing it and getting a lot of information. We're doing a lot of customer discovery. We're interviewing graduate school deans. We're in graduate students, PhD students who made it through and didn't make it through, why, and so forth. We're doing a lot more customer discovery. And so the funding roadmap, right now we're in pre-seed. We're looking at, seed funding. We're with the NC Idea grant that we got, the $10,000. We are a shoe-in for a $50,000 grant that's coming up in the spring, in the summer next year. Hopefully, we're in a Series A and Series B moving on down the road. Contact us, but I just wanted to. I'm not sure how long I got left because I didn't start my timer.
Mike.
Okay, I just wanted to show this with small little tweaks. What we can do with our platform is we can do group projects. That's for high school students. My target market did not include, my target numbers did not include what we can do for extending our product. So group projects for anyone, community groups, high schools, junior high schools, college, anyone that needs to do group projects, it works the same way. And also authors that write books or articles can use et al. If you've ever seen a academic research, you see a name at all, that's at Alia. That's a Latin term for it. So the tool is at Alia, and it's for author collaborations, just small tweaks of the platform. We can extend it to even get larger markets and larger groups. That is, I'll go back to this. Thank you all so very much. I know I rushed through that, but I'm super, super excited about committees. I look forward to kind of answering your questions.
Mike, thanks for a super presentation. Some of the greatest companies are really built by entrepreneurs that solve a problem or figure out a pain point that they had. So it's great that you have this from the ground up. Someone spoke about Clayton Christensen, and I can't stop thinking about low end or new market footholds. You're not really trying to build a whole calendar solution, or we don't need Google. You're solving something with a capstone group and something very finite, and then you expand at the end how you could grow. But it's really nice to see a real target market in a niche area that needs to solve a pain point. So thank you. Panelists?
And Mike, I would just lead off by saying, like, you know, part of it's a great idea, but part of it's taking that idea and making it real and having passion. And, you know, you stand out from having, you know, passion for solving this problem, which kudos is, you know, it's equally, you know, as important. I think, you know, to build on what Paul said, like, you know, you're targeting an area that is clearly underserviced, right? Ripe for the picking. You know, there's a variety of different, you know, applications out there that, you know, puts the ownership on, you know, yourself and a capstone student to manage. You're solving a real world problem, you know, and I really like the, you know, the vision for what the addendum kind of, you know, growth markets, you know, can be, you know, so it's, I think getting from here to there, right? Don't underplay the, you know, the actual science that, you know, can be applied here, right? Because I think that becomes a differentiator as you think about, you know, going forward. And there are some really interesting applications that you kind of, you know, you poked out a little bit, but I want more, you know, but, you know, really, really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you've sort of stumbled into a problem that you thought you could solve, that's always a good grounding point for any startup. Is you have a real problem and then you start throwing, you know, your efforts at it. The fact that you're, you know, going to have to go through the whole how do I do a startup process and learn on the fly is always going to be part of the challenge. And I do think getting your, I like that you've got early product testing going on. That's so important, because if you can figure out what the end customer really will pay for and will use, and make it seamless and easy and those things at a low cost, then I think you've got something here. Because I know people can cobble together solutions with the apps you mentioned and the solutions you mentioned plus others, but if you can make it brain dead easy so somebody can just use committees and boom, it's done, that obviously will be something. I'm not sure it's going to be a market that the VC community is going to want to jump in, because selling into education is like selling into government. It's a mature big market and it moves slow. Getting the grad students to adopt is one thing, that's sort of consumer facing. Getting the universities, that's a long slog and it's very slow. So, but it feels like you've got something, and I you know, urge you to keep your costs low and your experimentation high as you figure out the
Mike, connect with me on LinkedIn. We should talk. You know, I had the opportunity to build WorkMarket a few years ago, which was a pioneer in AI-based calendaring to transform enterprise operating models.
Nice.
You know, as Walgreens wanted to go from, instead of hourly workers to on demand, and needed to fill in shifts and all have AI be able to look at 1,000 things and 1,000,000 variables and compliance records and everything and get the right thing at the right moment. Those workflows transform enterprises. They can transform business models. And in your use case, they can transform what is clearly a problem. So there is extraordinary artistry, technical artistry to being able to do this. And the ability to match that capability to a flow of something you're trying to accomplish is the fundamental key to success. So ping me later, we'll chat.
Oh, absolutely. I sure will. Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much, Mike. Thank you, panelists. And Mike, try to get some sleep tonight, huh? Just, catch
Oh,
up for
Yeah,
a
do you have
few
any pets?
last weeks.
No pets, but I slept better than I have in the last 6 months.
Wonderful.
Last night.
Good to hear.
Good for
Thanks
you.
again.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you
Next
all.
up, we have Shay. And I just have to tell you or warn you that Shay is always on the go. He is a total mover and shaker. Every time we met for a mentoring session or a discussion, he had a lot. He was always mobile. So I love his energy. He is the founder from Co-op, a solution-driven founder that built a production rental platform that simplifies locating, connecting, and creating high-quality content. Shay, let's hear what you got.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Paul. And thank you for this opportunity because, I love to flex this muscle, and StartupOS has really helped me kind of coalesce and refine everything I've been working on. So I'm Shay Mirage, a founder of Coop, creating on other people's property. I built a peer-to-peer marketplace for production rentals. So connecting brands and content creators with spaces so you can virtually tour, book the creative space, equipment and service packages all on one listing. So a little bit to like why I even decided to do this and why I'm the guy for this job. I've been in the content creator economy since before they started legitimizing what the numbers actually look like. And I was seeing what the brand deals were like actually exchanging between the content creators and what they were charging them. And I was like, wow, they're spending tens of thousands on these brand deals. And this was the early stage of it. So through the years, just adding value however I can in tech startup community, digital marketing, influencer marketing, celebrity marketing, SaaS, copywriting. I've worn just about every hat over the years. I've spent this period kind of learning everything I can and being a sponge to the different systems and kind of just how I can add value. I started this idea in like 2018, Art Basel down in Miami. My friends and my content creator kind of community were all having trouble finding creative spaces. They weren't wanting to book to us. They were thinking you're going to bring a certain crowd. They were just running into all these pitfalls. And I was like, there's no platform for this. There's no Airbnb for this model. Like, how is this not a thing? Start doing the market research. And I was like, wow, the numbers are there. It's just a hard industry to break into because it's who you know into the creator economy. It's a very guarded like network base. So I realized, okay, I have the network. I have the know-how on building this. So let me start sourcing development, finding teams. Went through a couple developers, were not successful. Then I met Jahid, who's on the screen right there, and I hired him to teach me how to develop this myself. So then from there, I started reaching out to my network and started pooling on who my different brains are that are smarter than me about these different aspects of the industry and how I can like address real pain points. So I have Baca, whose architecture deals with AT&T and Drake and the creative community, providing high-level creators with brands. Jay Joseph, he was one of the first people I talked to in Art Basel. He's produced events for HBO, content producer for major publications. Karen Lisa Atkinson, she is a 20-plus year tech veteran, helped companies go public, helped companies to acquisition. And she's also my personal mentor in my spiritual practice as I manifest and intently and refine my focus as I build out Coop. Through the product line, I linked on Kendrick Vasquez. He's the owner of HGAP Studios. It's one of the #1 studios in Miami. I pulled every feature, every product, like marketing map, everything from him. So the problem that I was finding is all US-based rental marketplaces are niche-based, are not niche-based. So PeerSpace, all these other platforms, they were focused on co-working spaces, event spaces, not really doubling down on this burgeoning creator economy that I saw, were actually having the discretionary income to spend on these bookings. I started in the kind of artist creative general space, and I realized there wasn't much liquidity because they just didn't have enough money for these bookings and for it to be lucrative enough for me to spend the time and build out the team to like facilitate these bookings. So started building very niche focused custom platforms that showcase spaces beyond what every platform is doing right now, to kind of like bring more transparency to what spaces look like, what the dimensions are, and spatially like how you can view these spaces through video walkthroughs and virtual reality 360 panoramic pictures. You can kind of like tour studios a little deeper. no one in my industry has really stepped into the video side, but with TikTok and all these other industries, we see how direct video marketing is, especially to the creator economy. So I'm focusing on the social media aspect, where 73% of creators have either a portfolio or a profile. All of the competitors are using SEO, which limits your reach because you're looking for someone who needs the space then. They're not in the active conversation where the creators are actually brokering deals and planning their projects for the years ahead. So I built Coop, an all-in-one platform for production businesses to market and rent their space, props, equipment, and content creation services. Talking with Kendrick, the owner of HCAP Studios, there's a pivot right now happening in all these spaces where they have to move from people to now servicing brands and product photography. So they can now feasibly make, you know, their daily rate of say $500 to $1,000 working with a brand versus having to get, you know, 4 or 5 people coming in and out, 4 or 5 productions, cleanup and XYZ that comes with running these physical photo shoots. But it's also a main facet of their business model. So they're never going to not let the people in, but they're realizing, okay, we can make more money offering the same space to brands and kind of brokering their content. So how we add value is getting tens of thousands of eyes on Coop listings via Pinterest, TikTok, and Instagram to garner like booking interest daily. I'm a studio investor myself, and I have a space in Jamaica, and I tested the space with Coop with all the marketing with all the marketing research that I've coalesced to like build Coop is part marketing agency, part booking platform. I saw that most of these studio owners are lacking the marketing knowledge and infrastructure on how to scale their places. They can build a space, they're the creative, they have the equipment, but they're not really able to kind of like sustain it over time. So built out systems on how you can actually produce, you know, weekly bookings through social media content, since I've been doing it for so long. And I reverse engineering social media base is like my jam. And I see it in these kind of SaaS and technology where my e-commerce background helps me understand how I can reverse engineer these like micro communities and like really penetrate. So and we're the only platform that offers the video and VR, which I think is going to be one of the main acquisition points for us, where we're collecting all this media and data from these spaces where none of my competitors have yet. And then we're the only platform that offer VIP location scout and brand matching. So I saw that if I could do these kind of brand and VIP location scouts, I can hit my minimum with these 5 to 20K campaigns that I'm already doing naturally. With my network, as people call me like, hey, Shay, I need a space, blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of using the platform as that. So it's a behemoth of industry, but it's just very guarded and network based. That's why I don't think a lot of people are able to tackle the problem, just because they don't know the content creators. I've been working with some of the largest content creators when they were first building their brand in 2012. Decade later, now they're, you know, multi-millionaire content creators who are, you know, positioned me as I help them broker brand deals to then go back and now offer these value props to Coop itself. So 104 billion total addressable market. I dropped that down to a 30 billion SAM that like kind of encompasses what globally is really available. And then focusing on this like production rentals and content creation space in that 10 billion and $5 billion range with 2 million professional creators is what I'm focused on. There's the 50 million creators where they're not really making money off of this. They're not tax-paying content creators. So I'm focused on these 2 million who are spending, you know, 5 to 10K on productions. The way that my go-to-market strategy for everything e-com, anything, is a multi-layered like market penetration. I like to hit my customer from every angle. They're going to be in different spaces, seeing spaces and our listings everywhere across social media. So that's using digital ads and building our own funnel through producing content daily, as in real estate pages. Real estate pages do exceptionally well on social media because it's low thought process and it's high engagement. And it really works in converting, you know, the real estate industry has been using social media in this past like 2021, 2020, post-pandemic, to really capitalize on how they're getting their listings in front of people. And I'm bringing that kind of real estate knowledge into this creative production side of it. And I like to this community is more impactful marketing. Like they want to know that you're actually investing in the creator economy. So what we're going to do is kind of target that through events, partnerships, and press. Events, we're going to have SetCon, which is a creator and set designing competition where brands battle for the best booth. 100K sponsorships, bring a bunch of brands together, open it up for the public next day, and have a whole flood of social media content just driving all day from people wanting to go to our SetCon to create content. And with me being in the influencer space, I've worked with all the agencies, I worked with the content creators, getting into the rooms with Rep.io and all these other systems who have, 10,000 content creators, 5,000 content creators. I've already set up the pipeline and primed them for these conversations like, hey, I'm going to have direct spaces and partnerships for your content creators. Just give me access so I can know who I can place where and how I can make it like more lucrative for everybody involved and just drive value. Value is like my main thing where I know in the long run, as long as we're just the information and the like community source, you're not going to be able to not use Coop.
Shay, you have about 1 minute left, so you need to wrap it up. Thanks.
Yeah, so let me just get to this is a snapshot of what Coop looks like and what I'm primed the market now. Sourcing events in 24 hours, VIP location scouting, matching with the brands. I've already built a great database to like reverse engineer for our first 500 studios, which took me into like really getting into what our Q1 and Q2 looks like as we bring on our innovators who are in that 500 to 1,000 listings, early adopters in 1,500, 2,500, mass market adoption is our end goal at 10K listings. That's my big milestone where we can really see how we're like capturing and taking over this industry.
You want to talk about your ask real quick, Shay?
Yeah, I'm raising 2 million on a safe, a 20 mil val. We're using 500K as this 10K listing sprint. I like to hyper focus and do marketing sprints versus not being able to really track what you're actually doing because this industry is changing so often. You have to know where you can pivot, how to pivot, and do it quickly so that you can attract these high-level brands and creators and really offer them value. So your money is going to be going into implementing insurance, which is like a BIPD, so that we can cover in the US. Operational refinement, our customer success and our customer service is really where we're going to shine. And building a concierge white glove service is where nobody's doing right now. And if we add this to the production and to the level of productions, we just put ourselves in a whole other tier. And
I'm going to have to stop you there. I appreciate it. Great presentation. I sometimes when you're presenting, you have so much more to say, and I apologize, but we have some real-time commitments. I want to say that a very engaging presentation. I think David Sachs said it best. And he said, distribution is innovation. And that's where I see you really shining here, that you have a competitive advantage in your distribution, the way you're going to target the video side and the social side. And I think it's a wonderful approach and really what drives everything in the market today. So with that, panelists, any questions for Shay?
Shay, what are the revenues right now?
Right now, we're pre-revenue. I've been building this database up so that we can really penetrate with like 250 to 500 listings that automatically catapults us in like a 1.5 monthly recurring revenue off of a conservative value of like 500 per listing. As long as I can get 500 per listing, most of these spaces are doing 7K to 10K per month on a low end. So taking 10% of that from our take rate, I did a conservative figure at 500 and I've been like extrapolating the data from there because I know between brand packages and the bookings themselves, I can get 500 per listing as we kind of scale up.
I guess the only feedback that I would give you just in terms of that, like we're in a particular market, climate right now where, the dynamics are what they are. Pre-revenue number of 20 million, in valuation, you may want to think about, I think Curtis said that in this before, like proving out the model, right? Like it doesn't sound like you need a lot of money to do that, but being able to get some chips on the table, right, and really show that directional velocity, I think is, I believe in the idea that, that you've just shared with us. But I think the proof is in the pudding, and it seems like it's a very addressable opportunity for you to prove out. to then reinforce that bigger number and, therefore the ask. So just think about that in terms of like your evolution of, and it's also going to keep more equity in the business itself.
And then I'm curious if this is Airbnb for recording studios, if that's sort of a simple way to think about it. No, go ahead.
No, it's not recording studios. So recording studios is only one part of the market, which is going to limit us entirely. And it's a very smaller side to where we do production spaces, photo studios, film spaces, film locations, and product studios particularly. No one's built this database for product studios. So I kind of focus on that side than recording studios. Recording studios have a lower average monthly. They're only charging $50 an hour. Our studios are charging $150 an hour at minimum. So
got it. So then, I guess my question is, for your target market, the reason Airbnb worked was there was this unused capacity, completely unused capacity. And so people that could monetize something that they otherwise were getting no value out of is very different than taking someone who's got capacity and maybe, so my question is, what is the amount of unused capacity that you're freeing up? Because if there's not a lot of that, then I think it becomes a much harder hill to climb.
Unused capacity is massive. Everybody's investing in their own home studios and all these spaces, and they're even looking at those. I kind of focused on the production side and high performing in this beginning to what Seth was saying. I know working with these high performing studios, we're just siphoning off our 10% as I broker these deals and as I build out my team to broker these deals and kind of keep the flow going with their bookings. So I focus on studios that also have a social media following because they're the easiest to adopt to our technology, where they know how to sign up a profile, they know how to add pictures, they know they're basically building a social media profile for their space, and then we handle SEO and marketing for them and just siphon off our 10% as we get them bookings.
Cool.
I'm a user of Peerspace. How do you differentiate?
So Peerspace doesn't have all of the showcasing abilities that we have. They haven't niched down and made custom platforms for this side of production. As you know, they started in the event space and they kind of stuck with the same UI UX for it, where I've worked with production and location scouts to give an in-depth look into these spaces that Peerspace, Liquid Space, Placer, all of them are doing 2D pictures and just very general profiles. And then they focus on SEO, where we're going to focus on social media. Their social media presence is abysmal. And I already see okay, if every marketplace has abysmal social media, it's kind of like e-commerce where you can fix up a UI, you can get a better looking product and a better functioning product to somebody that really kind of alleviates and serves them and offer them something that's really reaching the masses to where, 73% of this 2 million creator economy is on Instagram. And none of my competitors are using Instagram, which blows my mind. And I realized, okay, you guys aren't really knowing the creator economy, because if you really needed to double down on it and kind of move into that space, as they've only pivoted recently, they would have recognized, okay, with this production side, let's start building it out to offer more value.
If you could provide again, the packaging matters here, because again, when you think about, if I'm, looking to, have either as an individual content creator or a company that creates a shit ton of content, I don't want to invest in studios. Believe me, I used to have studios. I had a full production studio at Hewlett Packard. You don't need that kind of stuff. You want it all on demand. You want it all dynamic. You want it fully turnkey. You want to be able to leverage the same teams. You want to be able to do it globally. You want to have command and control. And so if you can integrate that entire experience, including the physical locale, that's a sweet use case.
Thank you. You already see where I'm going with this. I want to build out this kind of creator tool as we add to this product feature list, because there's a gap in collaborative tools in productions, as you know, getting to the end result, especially in content creation. People are still winging it and they're not really putting process and systems behind. And that's what I always tell my clients. I'm like, look, stop just winging it with content and thinking, okay, we're going to book a space, we're going to take pictures, and we're going to do this without a full kind of treatment to what other industries do. Exactly. So that's where this funding is going to come in, is I want to take this development to the next level. I learned how to build this system myself because I was like, I need to learn how to process the payments. I want to be able to do everything myself to learn all of this. But in this, WordPress ecosystem and the limitations that these themes have in general, it's a good MVP to scale to our first 1,000 to 2,000 bookings. But I want to be able to offer so many more tools in this wheelhouse that kind of like will just bring our AOV up as we process these deals.
Well, thank you very much, Shay and Coop. Really, really great. Investor panelists, thank you so much. Great questions. It was a fantastic Q&A round. Really enjoyed it. And thanks to all the pitches. And we'll see you at our next event in January. But thank you all.